Zuri Amadi learned early that grief could live in a house like an extra person, quiet, heavy, and always present. 2 months after her father's burial, the room still smelled faintly of his aftershave and old books. She would pause at his favorite chair, touch the armrest, and feel like she was touching time itself. Her father had not left her much. No flashy bank account, no cars, no big house. Just one thing, repeated in his last days with a tired smile. The land is yours, Zuri. Even if people laugh now, keep it. If you're reading or listening and stories like this touch your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps more heartfelt stories reach people who need them. The land was far from the city, beyond the last neat streets and the last familiar bus stop. A stretch of bush and red soil, dotted with stubborn trees, with a small broken fence that looked more like an apology than protection. Zuri had only been there twice with her father. Both times, he had stood still for a long moment, as if he could hear something under the ground. Now, Zuri stood in the living room with a folder in her hand, staring at a letter she did not understand. Her aunt Saad stood near the curtains in a bright wrapper and a blouse that looked too loud for mourning. Her uncle, Bayo, sat on the sofa and pretended not to be nervous. "What is this?" Zuri asked, her voice calm but thin. Aunt Saad waved her hand like she was brushing away dust. "It's nothing. Just adult matters." Zuri lifted the letter. "It says the land has been transferred." "Transferred to who?" Uncle Bayo cleared his throat. "Zuri, sit down first." Zuri didn't sit. She felt something rising in her chest, hot and sharp. "Transferred to who?" she repeated. Aunt Saad sighed dramatically. "Why are you always acting like we are your enemies? Your father is gone. We're the ones here." "You didn't answer my question," Zuri said. Aunt Saada's eyes hardened. "We sold it." The room went silent, like even the walls had stopped breathing. Zuri blinked once. "You sold my father's land?" Aunt Saad stepped forward. "That land is useless bush. Your father was sentimental. He held on to that thing like it was gold. But you need school fees. You need rent. You need money. We helped you." Zuri's hands trembled. "You didn't help me. You stole from me." Uncle Bayo stood up quickly. No, don't talk like that. Your aunt meant well. The buyer gave a fair price." "A fair price?" Zuri's voice cracked. "You didn't even tell me. You went behind my back." Aunt Saada's lips curled. "Because you're young and stubborn. You would start crying and quoting your father's last words. Meanwhile, bills don't respect last words." Zuri looked at them, and something in her softened, then broke. Not because of the land, but because she understood the truth. The people smiling at her in the day were counting her inheritance at night. She walked into her room and shut the door gently, as if anger was too expensive to spend loudly. Then she sank onto the edge of her bed and pressed her palm to her mouth so no sound escaped. Her father's voice returned in her head, steady and warm. "Keep it." But it was gone. That night, Zuri went outside to the compound to breathe. The generator hum from the neighbors mixed with distant laughter. She stared up at the sky and whispered, "Daddy, what did you see in that land?" From the side gate, a voice answered, "You're Zuri, right?" She turned quickly. A young man stood there, holding a small delivery box. He was tall, neat, with a face that carried kindness like it was natural. He wore a simple black shirt and trousers, and his eyes were careful, not nosy. "I'm Kellen," he said. "I came to deliver something for your aunt. She gave me the wrong address earlier." "Sorry." Zuri didn't respond at first. She didn't feel like meeting anybody in her pain. But something about his voice was gentle, not demanding. She pointed. "She's inside." Kellen nodded and hesitated. Are you okay?" Zuri wanted to lie. She almost did. But her throat was tight, and the truth slid out. "They sold my father's land behind my back." Kellen's brows pulled together. "They what?" "It was mine," Zuri said bitterly. "He left it for me. And they sold it." Kellen looked like he wanted to say a lot, but he chose his words carefully. "Do you have documents? Any papers in your name?" Zuri swallowed. "My dad kept everything in a metal box. I haven't checked it well. I didn't think." Kellen nodded slowly. "Don't blame yourself. People can be shameless." That word, shameless, made Zuri laugh once, short and broken. "Yes, shameless." Kellen shifted the box in his hands. "I'm not trying to put my nose in your family matter. But I work at a small law office as a junior clerk. If you have documents, there might be something you can do." Zuri studied him. "Why would you help me?" Kellen met her eyes. Because I know what it feels like when people use family as an excuse to hurt you. Zuri didn't know how to respond to that. She only nodded. Inside, Aunt Sod collected her delivery with a sweet voice that did not match her character. When Kellen returned to the gate, he slipped a small card into Zuri's hand. "If you decide to check that metal box," he said softly, "call me. Even if it's just advice." When he left, Zuri stared at the card like it was a tiny candle in a dark room. The next morning, she woke up early, before her aunt could start the day with fake smiles. She opened the old metal box hidden under her father's wardrobe. Inside were land papers, old photos, and a brown envelope labeled in her father's handwriting. "Zuri, read when I'm gone." Her fingers shook as she opened it. The letter was short, but every line felt like a hand on her shoulder. "My Zuri, that land is not ordinary. People will call it bush because they cannot see what I saw. If anything happens, look for Mama Ife in Aloran village. She knows the truth. And remember, what is yours. Fight with wisdom, not noise. I love you beyond life. Dad." Zuri reread it 3 times, then pressed it to her chest until her breathing slowed. Mama Ife. Aloran village was where the land was. Zuri didn't waste time. She packed a small bag, told her aunt she was visiting a friend, and took the first bus out. The road was rough. The farther she went, the more the city fell away. When she finally arrived, dust clung to her shoes like it wanted to follow her home. She found Mama Ife near a small kiosk, selling pepper and yams. The woman was older, with sharp eyes that looked like they had seen betrayal before. When Zuri introduced herself, Mama Ife's expression softened. "Ah, so you came." Zuri's chest tightened. "You knew I would?" Mama Ife nodded slowly. "Your father told me. If anything happens, my daughter will come. And if she comes, tell her the truth." Zuri swallowed. "What truth?" Mama Ife leaned closer. "That land, it sits on the path of a new highway project. Big men have been coming here for months, measuring, pointing, whispering. The government approved it quietly. Developers started buying land cheap, before people understand what's coming." Zuri's heart slammed. "A highway?" Mama Ife nodded. "Not just highway. There's talk of a commercial hub. Fuel station. Shopping plaza. Logistics center. Your father, God rest him, he heard rumors early. He bought that land with his savings. He told me, this will be Zuri's future." Zuri's knees felt weak. She grabbed the edge of the kiosk table. "So it's worth a fortune," Mama Ife finished. The air around Zuri changed. Grief was still there, but now it carried fire. She pulled out the papers. "My aunt sold it behind my back." Mama Ife's face tightened with anger. "I suspected. A man came last week, claiming he bought it. Mr. Vance Okoye. Smooth mouth. Too much perfume." Zuri repeated the name quietly, as if tasting poison. "Okoye." Mama Ife lowered her voice. "He's pushing everyone to sign fast. People don't know what they're giving away." Zuri's hands clenched. "I have to stop this." Mama Ife sighed. "Child, it won't be easy. Those people don't play fair." Zuri stared at the dusty road. For the first time since her father died, she felt something that wasn't only sadness. She felt purpose. On the way back, she called Kellen. He answered on the second ring. "Zuri, I checked the box," she said. "And I found a letter. The land isn't useless. It's worth a fortune." There was a pause, then Kellen's voice sharpened. "Okay, good. Now we move smart. Can you meet me today?" Zuri looked out the bus window, watching the trees blur past. "Yes," she said. "Tell me where." And just like that, a new chapter began. One where love might grow, but heartbreak was already waiting in the shadows. Kellen met Zuri outside a small office building with peeling paint and a sign that read Duramola and CO. Legal practitioners. It wasn't fancy, but it felt real, like people inside worked for truth, not appearances. He guided her into a quiet room, offered her water, and waited until her hands stopped shaking. "Start from the beginning," Kellen said. Zuri explained everything. Her father's words, the letter, Mama Ife's warning, the buyer's name. Kellen listened like every detail mattered. When she finished, he leaned back, eyes focused. "First, do you have proof the land was left to you?" Zuri slid the papers across the table. "This is the deed. My name is on it." Kellen's eyes moved quickly over the documents. "Good." He tapped a section. "If your name is already on the title, then they had no legal right to sell it without your consent." Zuri's throat tightened with relief. "So I can get it back?" Kellen exhaled slowly. You can fight for it. But listen, people like this Okoye guy, they don't like losing. And your aunt and uncle? They'll pretend they did it for you. They might even paint you as ungrateful. Zuri stared at her hands. They already do. Kellen's voice softened. Then we prepare for war, but with clean hands. Over the next week, Zuri became someone she barely recognized. Someone who asked questions, collected evidence, and refused to be intimidated. Kellen helped her file a complaint, draft legal notices, and request an injunction to pause any development until ownership was settled. But the hardest part wasn't the paperwork. It was going home. The day she confronted Aunt Sod again, the compound felt smaller, like the walls were leaning in to listen. Aunt Sod sat in the living room, fanning herself like she had no worries. Uncle Bayo watched a football match, pretending he didn't care. Zuri placed a copy of the injunction notice on the table. Aunt Sod looked at it and laughed. What is this rubbish? It's a notice, Zuri said calmly. The sale is illegal. My name is on the deed. You had no right. Uncle Bayo stood up. Zuri, don't disgrace us. Disgrace? Zuri repeated, her voice steady. You sold my inheritance behind my back. You took my father's last gift. And you're talking about disgrace. Aunt Sada's face tightened. So you went to lawyers. You want to fight your own blood. You stopped being my blood when you chose greed, Zuri said. Aunt Sod rose. Do you know how much they paid? Do you know what that money has solved? Zuri's eyes narrowed. So you've spent it. Silence. Uncle Bayo murmured. It was urgent. Zuri's chest burned. You didn't think to ask me? You didn't think to respect me? My father trusted you. Aunt Sada's expression hardened into something cold. Your father trusted the wrong people then. That sentence stabbed deeper than Zuri expected. For a second, she saw her father's face, tired, hopeful, believing family would protect his child. Zuri turned away before tears could fall. That night, she sat outside again, staring into darkness. Kellen called. How did it go? Zuri laughed weakly. They don't even feel guilty. Kellen's voice was quiet. I'm sorry. Zuri swallowed. Sometimes I wonder if love is real. Family love. Even romantic love. Everybody says they love you until money enters the room. Kellen paused. Zuri, love is real. But not everyone knows how to carry it without dropping it. His words settled in her chest like warm tea. Days passed. The case began to attract attention. Mr. Vance Okoye showed up with a smile too perfect to trust. He requested a private meeting with Zuri at a cafe. Kellen insisted on coming. Okoye arrived in a shiny car, wearing a watch that looked like it could pay school fees for 100 children. He shook Zuri's hand and smiled like a politician. My dear Zuri, Okoye said smoothly. Why all this stress? We can settle this quietly. Zuri kept her face neutral. You bought land that wasn't for sale. Okoye chuckled. Your aunt sold it. She claimed she had authority. Kellen leaned forward. And you didn't verify ownership? Okoye's smile tightened. Young man, I don't like your tone. Kellen didn't blink. And I don't like fraud. Okoye's eyes flicked to Zuri. Let's not fight. I can give you extra money. A nice amount. You'll leave happy. Zuri stared at him. How much is the land worth to you? Okoye hesitated, just a fraction. Zuri smiled without joy. Exactly. Okoye's tone turned sharp. Listen, girl. Don't be stubborn. You think you're smart, but this world is bigger than you. Sign a settlement, take money, and move on. Kellen's hand moved slightly, like he wanted to hold Zuri back from speaking. But Zuri leaned forward, voice calm and deadly. I'm not moving on from what is mine. Okoye's eyes hardened. Then you'll suffer for pride. He stood and walked away, leaving expensive cologne in the air like a threat. Outside the cafe, Zuri's knees trembled. Kellen caught her elbow. You did well. Zuri whispered. He sounded like he meant it. Kellen's gaze was serious. He did. That was when danger started showing itself in small ways. A strange car parked near Zuri's compound at night. Anonymous numbers called her phone and dropped when she answered. Someone followed her once from the bus stop until she ducked into a salon. Kellen tried to hide his fear, but Zuri saw it. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Kellen walked her home. They stopped near her gate. A streetlight flickered above them like an unsure witness. Zuri breathed out. I don't want you dragged into this. Kellen's eyes softened. Too late. Zuri frowned. Kellen. He stepped closer, voice low. Zuri, I didn't plan this. I didn't plan to care. But I do. Her heart thudded painfully. Kellen continued. You're carrying pain like it's your duty. I want to share it with you. Zuri's eyes filled. Don't say things you can't keep. Kellen's hand lifted slowly, stopping just short of touching her cheek, like he was asking permission without words. I don't know everything about tomorrow, he said. But I know what I feel right now. Zuri's breath caught. She leaned forward just slightly, and Kellen closed the space gently, his forehead resting against hers, not rushing, not taking, just holding. For the first time in a long time, Zuri felt safe. And that was the cruelest part, because heartbreak usually arrives right after safety. 2 days later, Zuri returned home to find Aunt Saad sitting with a woman from church and crying loudly like an actress. The woman looked at Zuri with disappointment. Zuri, the churchwoman said, why are you fighting your family? Your aunt said she sold the land to help you, and now you're taking them to court. Zuri's chest tightened. That's not the full story. Aunt Saad sobbed harder. I raised her. I fed her. Now she wants to destroy me. Zuri stared at her aunt. You didn't raise me. My father did. The churchwoman shook her head. Don't be rude. Zuri realized then, Aunt Saad wasn't just stealing land. She was stealing Zuri's image, painting her as the villain. That night, Zuri sat alone in her room and cried until her chest hurt. Kellen came the next day, bringing food and quiet comfort. He didn't ask her to be strong. He simply sat beside her, letting silence do what words couldn't. Zuri whispered, why does it hurt like this? Kellen's voice was rough. Because you're losing people you thought would protect you. Zuri turned to him, eyes red. And what if I lose you too? Kellen didn't answer immediately. He looked away, jaw tight. Zuri's stomach dropped. Kellen, what's wrong? Kellen exhaled. Okoye came to the office. Zuri sat up fast. What did he want? He offered me a job, Kellen said quietly. A lot of money. He said if I step away from your case, he'll take care of me. Zuri's throat went cold. And what did you say? Kellen looked at her, pain in his eyes. I said no. Relief hit her like a wave, then fear right behind it. Zuri whispered, then you're a target now. Kellen nodded slowly. Yes. Zuri stared at him, heart pounding. Love was forming, real and bright, but danger was circling it like smoke. And the day of the court hearing was coming. The morning of the hearing, Zuri wore a simple black dress and tied her hair neatly back. She wanted to look like someone who would not be shaken. But inside, her heart raced like it was trying to escape. Kellen met her outside the court. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept. You okay? Zuri asked. Kellen nodded, but his eyes said otherwise. I had a feeling something would happen. Zuri frowned. What do you mean? Kellen's phone buzzed. He checked the screen and his face tightened. He didn't show Zuri, but she saw his hand shake slightly. What is it? She asked. Kellen forced a small smile. Nothing. Let's go in. Inside, the courtroom felt colder than the weather outside. Aunt Saad arrived dressed in white, with Uncle Bayo beside her, looking small. They sat with a lawyer who wore confidence like perfume. Mr. Vance Okoye entered last, moving like someone who believed the world made space for him automatically. When his eyes met Zuri's, he smiled, slow, threatening. The judge entered. The case began. Zuri's lawyer presented the deed, the letter from her father, proof that Zuri's consent was never given. The sale documents were questioned. Dates didn't match. Signatures looked suspicious. Okoye's lawyer argued smoothly. The aunt acted in the best interest of the young lady. The young lady is being influenced by outsiders. Outsiders. Zuri knew they meant Kellen. The judge asked Zuri to speak. Her mouth went dry, but she stood anyway. My father left me that land, she said clearly. He told me it was my future. I was grieving, and while I was grieving, they sold it. They didn't ask. They didn't tell me. They took advantage of my silence. Aunt Saad began to cry again, but this time Zuri didn't flinch. Then the judge asked, do you have any witness who can speak to the value or situation surrounding the land? Zuri's lawyer nodded. Yes, your lordship. Mama Ife Adeyemi. When Mama Ife stepped forward, her voice was firm and unbreakable. She spoke about the highway plans, the secret land-buying rush, the pressure from developers, and her conversations with Zuri's father. She didn't exaggerate. She just told the truth like it was a stone she carried for too long. Okoye's lawyer tried to shake her. Are you sure you understand government projects? Mama Ife looked him in the eye. I understand greed. And I understand when rich men think villagers are blind. A murmur passed through the courtroom. The judge called for a brief recess. Outside, Zuri stepped into the hallway, breathing hard. Kellen followed. You did well, Kellen said softly. Zuri's hands were cold. My legs feel like water. Kellen reached out and held her hand fully this time. His palm was warm, steady. Zuri looked at their joined hands and whispered, If we win, they'll hate me forever. Kellen's eyes softened. They already chose hate. Don't choose suffering to earn love. Zuri's throat tightened. She wanted to lean into him, to rest her whole life on his shoulder. But fate didn't allow softness for long. A loud shout echoed from the entrance. People turned. Zuri's heart stopped when she saw two men arguing with court security. One of the men pointed toward Kellen. Zuri's stomach dropped. Kellen. Kellen's grip tightened. Stay behind me. But the men didn't reach them. Instead, one of them threw a folded envelope onto the floor near Kellen's feet and stormed away. Kellen stared at it. Zuri whispered, What is that? Kellen bent slowly and picked it up. His face drained as he read the first line. Zuri stepped closer. Kellen, what? Kellen's voice broke. It's from my mother. Zuri froze. Your mother? Kellen swallowed hard. Okoye found her. Zuri felt like the ground moved. Kellen's mother had been sick for a long time. He once mentioned hospital bills, long nights, silent prayers. He never used it for pity. He carried it like a private burden. Zuri's voice shook. What does it say? Kellen's eyes shone with tears he refused to let fall. It says she's been moved from her clinic. Unknown location. And if I don't withdraw from your case, I'll never see her again. Zuri covered her mouth, horror rising. No, 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 no. Kellen's hands shook now. He looked at Zuri like he was drowning. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't want to bring this to you. Zuri's chest hurt. This isn't your fault. Kellen's voice was rough. It is. I should have known he would do this. Zuri grabbed his arm. Tell the police. Kellen shook his head once, bitter. Okoye has people everywhere. Police will investigate until the case is finished. And by then, Zuri felt tears spill. So what do we do? Kellen looked at her, pain slicing through him. I might have to step away. That sentence shattered Zuri's heart in a single quiet moment. She whispered, Kellen. He swallowed hard. Zuri, my mother is all I have left. Zuri nodded slowly, trying to be brave, but her body betrayed her. She trembled like a leaf. Kellen's voice softened. Please don't hate me. Zuri's throat burned. I could never hate you. But she could feel heartbreak taking its seat inside her, settling in like it planned to stay. The court session resumed. Zuri returned inside, face composed but eyes hollow. Okoye watched her with satisfaction, like he already tasted victory. The judge returned and began to speak. Based on the evidence presented, the judge said, this court finds that the sale of the land in question was conducted without the rightful owner's consent. The deed confirms ownership under Miss Zuri Amadi. Therefore, the sale is nullified. Zuri's breath caught. Aunt Saad cried out. Uncle Bayo sank into his seat. The judge continued. Furthermore, this court orders an investigation into allegations of coercion and fraudulent representation. Okoye's smile disappeared. For a moment, Zuri should have felt joy. She should have felt triumph. But when she turned to look for Kellen, her heart dropped. His seat was empty. Outside, Zuri found him near the road, staring into the distance like his soul had left first. Kellen, she called. He turned slowly. His eyes were red now. I couldn't stay in there. Zuri rushed to him. We won. The land is back. Kellen nodded faintly. I'm glad. Zuri's voice shook. But your mother. Kellen swallowed. I have to find her. I have to go. Zuri grabbed his hand. Don't go alone. Kellen looked at her like she was the last light in his world. Zuri, if you come with me, you might be in danger. Zuri's tears fell. I'm already in danger. I'm just tired of being alone inside it. Kellen's face tightened. He pulled her into his arms suddenly, tight, desperate, like he was trying to memorize her heartbeat. Zuri pressed her face into his chest and cried without shame. I didn't plan to love you, she whispered. Kellen's voice broke. Me too. He pulled back slightly, holding her face with both hands, eyes searching hers. If I survive this, I'm coming back for you. Zuri nodded, tears trembling on her lashes. And if I survive this, I'll still be here. Kellen kissed her forehead, soft, respectful, heartbreaking. Then he turned and walked away, each step ripping something from Zuri's chest. Days later, Zuri moved quietly. She used the court order to freeze any attempts to resell. She contacted honest journalists. She reported Okoye's intimidation. She searched for Kellen's mother through every safe channel she could find. And then one evening, Mama Aoife called Zuri with a trembling voice. "Child," Mama Aoife said, "they found the woman." Zuri's heart jumped. "Kellen's mother?" "Yes," Mama Aoife breathed. "At a small clinic outside town. Weak but alive." Zuri collapsed onto a chair, sobbing with relief. Kellen called that same night. His voice sounded like someone who had been holding his breath for days. "They released her," he said. "Zuri, they released her." Zuri cried, laughing through tears. "Thank God." Kellen's voice softened. "I'm coming back." Weeks later, Kellen returned, thinner, tired, but standing. He met Zuri on the same street near her gate where everything had started. Zuri stepped forward slowly, scared her happiness might vanish if she moved too fast. Kellen opened his arms. Zuri ran into them. He held her like she was not just love, but home. And as they stood under the streetlight, Zuri finally understood her father's last gift wasn't only land. It was the strength to fight, and the courage to love again, even after betrayal. If this story moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps these heartfelt stories reach more people who need hope.